Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I received from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers over the last 7 days. Remember, if you have any questions related to your workouts, your nutritional plan, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me your questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM them to me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. So let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Hi, Nick. Am I supposed to bring the bar down to touch my chest when bench pressing? I thought I was supposed to use full range of motion, but when I watch other people bench pressing, most of the time, they are 3 to 4 inches away from touching their chest with the bar. Could you please clear this up? Yeah, when it comes to bench pressing, there's 2 trains of thoughts. Okay, you'll get some trainers that will tell their clients when they're going down on a bench press to stop about 3/4 of the way down, so that they're keeping constant pressure on pectoralis major. And then you'll get another train of thought from another group of trainers who will tell their clients to go all the way down with full range of motion. Now, if you're in a commercial gym and you're just watching the average gym member doing bench press and you see that they're not going all the way down, chances are it's not because they've been told not to go all the way down. It's because they don't have the flexibility and the mobility to go all the way down. They're tight in their traps, or they're lifting way too much weight, and therefore their range of motion is seriously lacking. So I'm going to give you my perspective on this and what I advise my clients to do when bench pressing. So whenever I work with a client, first of all, if I'm working with a client who has a shoulder injury, I don't start them off with a barbell bench press. I'll usually give them some dumbbell work first, right? Dumbbells allow you to move more freely throughout the movement, right? Barbells are a little bit more restricted. So I don't incorporate barbell presses into a routine for a new client or for a client who's got an existing shoulder injury. Now, if I'm working with someone who's injury-free, they've been training with me for a few weeks, I get them into doing some barbell bench press, some incline bench press, some flat bench press. I always recommend to every single client I work with to bring that bar all the way down to touch your chest, and not all the way down bouncing off your chest, but all the way down, touch your chest, and right back up again. And the reason I believe in using full range of motion when it comes to working your pecs is because you want to stimulate both pectoralis major and pectoralis minor. Your chest has what we call elasticity type properties in it, right? So your chest allows you to really focus on stretching out those muscle fibers, your pectoralis major and minor. So I'm a firm believer in going all the way down. Now, how you take the shoulders out of the equation when doing bench press, before you lift up that bar, make sure your shoulders are retracted and your chest is really popped up. That's going to take your shoulders out of the equation right away. So if your shoulders are dig back into the bench and you have that nice hyperextension in your lumbar region, you're going to bring that bar right up and right back down to full stretch and pushing straight through so you stimulate those pecs. I know there's going to be some trainers that argue with that and say, no, you shouldn't go all the way down. It's dangerous on the shoulders. And listen, if you're properly warmed up and you're retracting your shoulders, you're elevating your chest, your shoulders shouldn't really be involved in the movement. Yeah, they're going to stabilize the bar a little bit, but they're not going to be actually contracting. I mean, we're not doing a shoulder press or a lateral raise here. We're doing a bench press, which is primarily pec major and pec minor. So when it comes to bench pressing, my recommendation, bring that bar all the way down. Try not to pay too much attention to those around you, what they're doing. Try to develop tunnel vision in the gym. As I said, most people who are not bringing the bar all the way down is because they lack the flexibility, the mobility, and also 9 times out of 10, they're going way too heavy. So that's another mistake I see people make in the gym when they do bench press. They go way too heavy. So you're better off taking that weight, dropping it in half, using full range of motion, getting that full stretch, keeping your reps 10 to 15, you'll guaranteed you're going to see results. All right, next question. Nick, is there much of a difference between doing machine squats versus free weight squats? I feel more secure when using the machine instead of the bar. So when you're saying machine squats, I assume you're talking about the Smith machine, and there is a difference. So I am not a huge advocate of using the Smith machine. I don't have a Smith machine at my gym, so I don't use it with clients, but I know they're very popular at commercial gyms because they do give you a higher sense of security, obviously, because you don't have to worry about balancing the bar on your back. The bar is attached to the machine, so you're just going up and down. The problem with using Smith machine squats is you're not working your stabilizers, right? And you don't really have to focus on keeping your core muscles tight either. You can just kind of rely on the machine to help dictate the movement up and down. So I always say when you're using a machine versus free weight, you're going to get way more bang for your buck if you're doing free weight over machine. You're going to exert more energy. You're going to burn more calories. You're going to build more muscle. Okay. Machines have their place, but in my opinion, they're always secondary to free weights. Now, if you're someone who's new to the gym or you're recovering from an injury, I can see where a Smith machine might have its place. But even when I get new clients, I try to teach them how to squat from the very beginning, a barbell back squat. I think that's a fundamental exercise that everyone should know how to do. Problem is when I get clients who've come to me and have been training on their own, but have been using things like the Smith machine for squats or bench press, they've developed some bad habits. So it's like never taking the training wheels off the bicycle, right? So unless you're recovering from an injury, let's say you've had a hip replacement and you don't feel too secure yet doing a barbell back squat, no problem. I say, yeah, definitely use the Smith machine. But if you want to get better results, in my opinion, you're going to get way better results by using a free weight barbell back squat or barbell front squat. But at the end of the day, putting a barbell on your back, going all the way down, squatting using your glutes and hamstrings. Obviously, if you're doing a front squat, you're going to put the barbell on your shoulders. But same thing, you're going to go all the way down using your quads, your hamstrings, and glutes. So there is a difference, okay? And it's a pretty big difference. So if you can, use the barbell over the Smith machine all day, every day. And if for some reason you are recovering from an injury, or maybe you have a problem with your lower back and you feel like, maybe I can't squat for a few weeks, and then you feel safer on the Smith machine, by all means use it. But in my opinion, you're going to get better results by using free weight squats versus Smith machine squats. Okay, next question. Hi, Nick. I'm currently following your 12-week cutting diet. I was wondering if I need to really drain the ground turkey. It's a lean ground turkey that you purchased from Costco. Isn't the added fat good? Nope. Okay, so the added fat from meats like turkey, turkey breast, chicken breast, even though there's not much fat, it's not good fat. We don't want that fat. So that's why I recommend when people cook things like ground turkey or ground beef that you drain it, and you drain it periodically as you're cooking it. So what I always recommend to my clients is, say you're cooking up a big pot of lean ground turkey, in this case, cook it in a big pot, and every so often throw it into a drainer so you drain all that fat, because there's actually quite a bit of fat. I've made videos of how much fat can be found in lean ground turkey breast. There's quite a bit when you're actually cooking it. Same thing with ground beef. By all means, I mean, you definitely don't want to be consuming that fat. Drain it. It's not the same thing as the fat that you would get from, let's say, salmon, which is omega-3, right? So we don't want the fat from turkey and from chicken. That fat doesn't serve us any purpose. So that's why I'm recommending too, when clients are doing their chicken breast, they use like a George Foreman grill, because that works really well, because it helps drain any excess fat that we don't want. And there's quite a bit. If you actually use a Foreman grill, you'll see all the fat that drips out of those chicken breasts. Some of it's water, but most of it is fat. So we don't want any of that. So yeah, I definitely recommend using a drainer when you're working with cooking your ground turkey. And if you think that fat is healthy for you, do this. So cook your ground turkey, put it in the drainer, put the drainer over a bowl, and then save all the fat on a bowl and put it in a cup and leave it in a cup overnight. And when you wake up in the morning, go take a look at that cup and you'll see that hard layer of fat that goes inside you if you eat it. You don't want that. It's gross. It smells terrible. So my recommendation when you're cooking things like lean ground turkey, even though it is lean, drain it. Absolutely. And that goes for any ground beef or ground meat that you're cooking. If it's ground beef as well, definitely drain it. And I said it before, you're doing your chicken breasts, put them on a grill, preferably a George Foreman grill, so you can really drain out all that fat. That's fat you don't want, guys. Okay? It's not good fats. Add good fats to your meal. Add the avocado, add coconut oil, add what's another one? Extra virgin olive oil, add some natural peanut butter, almond butter. So you can add good fats to your meals. The fats that you're going to get from the ground turkey and the chicken breast are not fats that we want to have. So get rid of those fats. All right, next question. Nick, are there any supplement brands that you recommend to your clients? It's hard to know what's good and what's garbage. There are so many supplement brands out there now. I mean, the supplement industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So there are lots of good brands out there, and there are probably more bad brands out there. So there's not one particular brand that I recommend to my clients to use. The only thing that I do tell my clients is if they're going to choose a supplement, that they choose a supplement that has a transparent label. Okay. And what I mean by that is that it lists everything that's in the supplement and how much of everything is in the supplement. If you have a supplement that says proprietor blend on it, proprietor blend, put it back. Okay. You don't know what that is. What's inside there. It's important that these supplements are completely transparent with what's going into their product, right? So that's the one thing I tell my clients is if you're taking something like, okay, let's say whey isolate, Well, what's in that whey isolate? How much fillers are in that whey isolate? Am I really getting whey isolate, or am I getting a blend of whey isolate with whey concentrate? So that's why it's important that when you read the label on the product and say, okay, this is 100% whey isolate. Okay, it's got everything I need in there. Perfect. You might have to pay a little bit more for that, but you're buying something of good quality. Usually when it comes to supplements, the cheaper the supplement, the shittier the supplement is. Okay, so that's another thing when you're buying supplements. If you're buying something that you feel that you need, make sure you put the money into it. Same thing with the food. Don't cheap out on the food. I say this to my clients all the time. Budget accordingly so you can afford good, high quality food. And another thing I always tell my clients too is if you're working with a budget, food always comes before supplements. Absolutely. Okay. So if you're following a clean diet and you've got extra room in your budget to buy the supplements, buy them, buy what you feel you need, but make sure you're buying good quality supplements. You're going to get way more out of it. So transparent labels are important. If the labels are not transparent and you're reading things like proprietary blend on there, put it back. It's not worth your time. It's not worth your money. And honestly, I in my personal opinion, supplements like that are going to be garbage. Okay. Okay. Next question. Hi, Nick. I really liked your latest blog about resting bitch face. As a woman, though, I have to say that sometimes I feel resting bitch face is necessary in order to keep certain men away at the gym. Would you agree? I would, and I did write about this in the blog too. I included when there's a time and place to have the resting bitch face for both men and women, and I completely agree. I mean, there's definitely a time if you've got that guy who's constantly ogling women or staring at them inappropriately in the gym. Yeah, by all means, give him resting bitch face. There's a few people in the gym that I have no problem giving a resting bitch face to because I just know that they're either inappropriate or they're going to get me into a long drawn out conversation. I don't want anything to do with those people. But my whole idea about writing that blog this week was because if you're constantly putting out the resting bitch face for the world to see, you're missing out on all kinds of potential opportunities that could come your way. Whether it's business or relationship, people are not going to approach you. People are going to be either fearful of you, they're going to be intimidated by you, or they're just going to think, oh, this person's a jerk. I'm not even going to come up and even smile at that person or just try to make a simple short conversation with them. So that's why I wrote that blog, because I realized when I switched my face from resting bitch face to at least acknowledging and smiling at people in the gym, it really changed a lot of things for me when it came to my business and my relationships. I found new training partners. I made new friends. I've got clients just from a simple hello. It doesn't have to be a long drawn out conversation, and in my opinion, I think too many people, men included, have the resting bitch face in the gym. And I get it. The gym, you want to focus. You're there to lift. I'm the same way. I'm not there to talk. But at the same time, I mean, a simple hello, how's it going? Smiling at someone, helping someone clear their weights. These are not big gestures, guys. These are very easy to do. It takes no energy out of you to do this. So I think that 9 times out of 10, the resting bitch face is not necessary. But every so often, I can see where, you want to keep the creepy guy away. You want to keep away that person that constantly talks for 15, 20 minutes in between sets and doesn't allow you to do your workout. I get it. But for the most part, I think just a simple smile, like I said, how you doing? How's it going? Can go a long way. So resting bitch face, 9 times out of 10, not necessary in my opinion. And every so often, if you need to throw in a resting bitch face, I say go for it. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. My friend Ashley trains with you in a few of your classes and mentioned that you guys normally complete between 48 sets in 60 minutes. Oh, sorry, between 48 to 52 sets in 60 minutes. How do you fit in all those sets in 60 minutes? Do you have your clients just go really light with weights so they recover faster? No, my clients don't go light. I mean, they warm up with lighter weights, but I'm a firm believer in high intensity, high volume workouts. I believe if you're training as a natural athlete or just a natural everyday person who wants to build muscle and lose fat, I believe the most ideal way to train is high volume, high intensity, short duration. Short duration in this case means 60 minutes. So when my clients come in to work with me, they know that we're going to start right on the dot. Say we start at 6 in the morning, we're going to go from 6 and we're going to finish right at 7. And during that time, there's very minimal breaks. Of course, I always tell my clients, if you're feeling nauseous or you're not ready to get back into the circuit yet, of course, take as much time as you need. But what happens is over time, as people start to develop a little bit more of intensity in their own workouts, and they themselves start to feel better throughout the workouts, and they're getting more fit, and their cardiovascular system is improving, their muscles are getting stronger. They can work through these circuits and they can work out more efficiently and more quickly. So yeah, for clients to get 48 sets in 60 minutes with me, that's not unusual. That's very common. We rest very little, but we don't lift very light weights. Another thing I do with my clients is, because we work in a private training facility, we have the luxury to circuit train. And I always tell people is what's important is how you set up your circuits. It's very important, the sequence of the exercises. So for example, if we're doing a chest and back circuit, I might have a group of clients and I'll start station number 1 at incline barbell bench press, station number 2, wide grip lat pull down, station number 3, flat dumbbell bench press, station number 4, seated row, station number 5, flat dumbbell flies, and then station number 6, I might get to do a bent over barbell row. For example, there's 6 stations. We do that 4 rounds. There's 24 sets. Most of my clients will finish that in about 24 or 25 minutes easily. It's working agonist versus antagonist muscle groups. Right. So that's a good way to set up a circuit. And again, because we're at a private facility, we have the luxury to do that. If you're in a commercial gym, you obviously can't do that. So again, to reiterate that, I don't think that it's necessary to get that many sets in. However, if someone's coming to see me, I'm going to try to give them the best workout they possibly can. So sometimes we might get maybe 30 sets in if someone's not feeling that great that day. They're moving a little bit more slow. That's fine. As long as they give the workout their 100%, they're going to get results. All right. Next question. Okay. Nick, do people ever hit you up for free workout and diet advice? I personally find it really frustrating and disrespectful when I'm at a party or event and people start asking me questions about how to lose weight and get in shape because they know I'm a personal trainer. It doesn't bother me, but what I do find works really well for situations like that. When you find yourself in a situation where you're at a party or you're at an event and people say, hey, what do you do? And you tell them you're a trainer and say, hey, how do I lose 5 pounds in the next 4 weeks? So generally what I'll tell people is, hey, you know what, I'd love to have this conversation with you and I'd love to give you some advice. Here's my card. Feel free to email me, call me, text me, however you want to get in contact with me. And I'm happy to, you come on in for a consultation and we'll talk. That to me is a very easy and polite way to tell someone, hey, look, I do this for a living. You're asking me for free advice. I actually charge for this advice, but here's my card and I'm happy to discuss this with you further. Book a consultation with me or come in and book a workout. But never do I get aggravated, do I get mad. I just make sure I have my business cards on me at all times for situations like that. So I suggest you do the same thing. I was at a party this past weekend, and there was 2 lawyers at that party, and I'm talking to them. I'm not going to start asking them for free legal advice, right? I have lawyers that I work with. Same thing. They're training me. I'm training them on the floor. They're paying me for my time. I don't start asking them legal questions, right? So there's a time and a place. And yeah, I can see where it could get frustrating, but just remember, if you want to remain a professional, and this could be a potential client, they just don't realize at the time that, hey, wait a second. A lot of people who work, for example, 9-to-5 jobs, or they work for a company and they're getting paid by the hour, they don't realize that people like yourself and I who are trainers, we've gone to school to learn all this information when it comes to building muscle, losing fat, dietary nutrition. A lot of those people don't realize that took time and effort on our part too. So, it's not something that they're not trying to be offensive or they're not trying to be cheap. A lot of people just don't know. So say, hey, I'd love to talk about this with you further. Here's my card, book a consultation with me, come down to my gym, check it out. And let's get started. It doesn't have to be a sales pitch. And then you can turn the subject onto something else. So that's what I've done, and it's always worked. But just make sure to have a few business cards on you, because if you're going to a party or event, 9 times out of 10, people are going to ask you, hey, what do you do for a living? And then that might follow up with a question based on what you do. Okay. And then sometimes those people are just trying to make conversation and be polite. So you just hand them your card, move on, switch the topic. All right, next question. Nick, I have a really hard time giving up bread. I eat it every day. Are there any good alternatives that you can recommend to help me get rid of this bad habit? There is. So for my bread eaters, I usually recommend a product called Ezekiel bread. Okay. And that can be found in the frozen section at stores like Whole Foods, Nesters, mostly specialty grocery stores. I believe it used to be at Safeway. I don't know if Safeway still carries it, but you're not going to find it at like a local, President's Choice grocery store or an IGA. You're going to have to go to a more high-end grocery store like a Whole Foods. Whole Foods will definitely have it. And the reason why it's kept in the frozen section is because there's no flour in Ezekiel bread. So it has to be kept in the frozen section. But with that said, when you take it out of your freezer, they come individually sliced and you just pop in your toaster for 90 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever it takes, and you have regular toast, regular bread. That works for most of my clients who are big bread eaters. They find when they switch over to the Ezekiel bread, it doesn't taste exactly like regular bread because there's no flour in it. It's sprouted bread, but they tell me it tastes very similar to swirly bread, right? So if you're someone who doesn't, who has a hard time giving up bread, my recommendation is switching over to Ezekiel bread. It's much lower in carbs. It doesn't contain any flour whatsoever, much healthier for you. A little bit more expensive than regular bread, but trust me, it's much more worth it, especially if you're someone who eats bread every day. Okay, bread is not good if you're trying to lose weight or just overall. Bread is not like a great product to have, right? Especially if you're eating bread that's like enriched with flour and it's got processed stuff in there. You don't want that either. So my recommendation is switch over to Ezekiel bread in the frozen section. I'll put a link below to the Ezekiel bread so you can read up more on that particular product. But yeah, if you have any questions related to your diet of certain foods, feel free to email me anytime as well, right? If you're thinking, okay, well, how can I incorporate? Could be something so simple as trying to incorporate something like, how do I get a healthier fat into my diet? I can no longer eat peanut butter. Maybe I developed an allergy for that. Okay, well, you can't eat peanut butter. So let's finally switch you over to eggs for a bit. There's always an alternative, and it's just troubleshooting. So don't feel like it's hopeless. Don't feel like, oh crap, I can't get rid of bread. Well, you can still have bread, right? You can still have it, but like I said, make a smarter choice. Bread like Ezekiel bread works perfect. All right. Okay. Next question. Hi, Nick. Do you have any tips on how to get more cuts in the legs? My legs are big. I can squat up to 405 pounds for 6 reps, but I have no definition in them. Should I train them with lighter and with higher reps? What I found really worked for me when I used to compete to get those cuts into my legs, like those deep incisions in my legs, were drop sets. Drop sets work exceptionally well. So let's take barbell back squats again, for example. I would do my first set of barbell back squats. I would do my 15 reps, 45 aside, do my second set, 2 plates aside, 15 reps, the third, fourth. Once I got to my last set, so say I was on set number 5 or 6, because I like to do 5 or 6 sets of squats. My last set, I would do 315. I would do that for 10 reps. And immediately I would take off a plate each side, 2 plates for 10 reps. And immediately right away, I'd take off a plate aside, 1 plate aside, 10 reps. So I would go 10, 10, 10. And that's what we call a triple drop set. Now I would do that with minimal rest in between. So my only rest period was getting out of the rack, stripping the plates off the bar, back on into the rack. I would go back in. So it's like 15-second rest. And I found that worked really well for bringing out more detail and more cuts and more definition to my quadriceps. Another thing I felt worked well, as you mentioned, were higher reps. I never found I got any results. I used to try to 4 to 6 reps. I did that for about maybe a year and a half, 2 years. I never saw any results from that. I got stronger, but I didn't see any results in my physique. So I switched that to higher reps being that 10 to 15 rep range. And that worked exceptionally well for myself. And it seems to work really well for most of the clients I work with, especially the clients I work with for contest prep, both men and women, for bringing in the larger muscle groups like the quadriceps, the hamstrings, and the lats, the rhomboid scapula, the back, all those areas. I find that works really well, drop sets on bigger, larger muscle groups. So drop sets and high reps, and again, not lightweight. Like just because you're going high reps doesn't mean it has to be lightweight. You still want to push yourself, but I would keep those reps again in double digits and incorporate drop sets, not on every exercise, but if you're lacking detail in your quads, it might make sense for you to throw in some triple and double and even quadruple drop sets. I know when I used to do hack squats with Robin, we used to train at a commercial gym. I would go in a hack squat machine and my last set would be 4 plates aside, and then I would do 10 reps, and then she would take off a 45 each side from me right away. And I would do 10 more reps and she'd do it again, 10 more reps, 10 more, and I would do it again. So it'd be 4 sets in a row. By the time I was done, I could barely stand up. I was like laying down. I was so gassed because essentially you're doing 4 sets in a row. And that was like 40 repetitions, right? In a span of like, say 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So, cause it usually took about 2:30 to get 4 quadruple drop sets in there. So, I mean, try the drop sets, see if they work, but don't try them for like a few months. Give it like at least a year, and then look at your progress and say, wow. Another thing is you're going to have to look at body fat. Is your body fat levels a little bit higher? If your body fat levels, if you're a man and your body fat levels are over 15%, there's a good chance you're not going to see cuts in your quads. But if your body fat is in check, and let's say you're at 9% for a man, you should start seeing those cuts in the quads. I mean, I'm not competing and I've got cuts in my quads year round. So just keep your body fat levels low as well. Anyway, so drop sets, high reps, low body fat, should get the job done. All right, last question. Nick, what is the most common mistake you see people make when training their chest, back, shoulders, arms, and legs? I want to see if I'm guilty of any of these. Oh, this is a long question. Okay. So the most common mistake I see people making for each muscle group. When it comes to chest, the biggest mistake I see people make, they start off with a flat barbell bench press. I see this quite often. I think you're really playing with fire when you do that. I've always started my clients off with either a low incline barbell press or a high incline dumbbell press. The reason I do that is because I want to work from the top to the bottom when I'm working the chest. Okay. So why I want to do that too is because I warm up my rotator cuffs more, because as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, is when you're bench pressing, even though you're not contracting your deltoids, you are using them to stabilize. So it makes more sense to start from the top and work your way down, because that'll actually help warm up your rotator cuffs more. So whether you choose to start with a incline barbell press or an incline dumbbell press, doesn't matter. But my recommendation is that when you're training chest, to always start with an incline press before you switch to a flat press. Without a doubt, that is probably it is the biggest mistake I see people make when they start with their chest workouts. They all go to the flat barbell bench press, and then a few months later, they complain that they've got rotator cuff or shoulder problems. Okay. As for the back, I would say the biggest mistake I see people doing is they start out with bent over exercises. So whether it's a T-bar row or bent over barbell row, I don't advise anyone to start their back workout with a bent over exercise. You want to warm up that lumbar region. So something like a lat pull down or even a seated cable row, those are excellent exercises to start off with. And then once you're into the workout, say 15, 20 minutes into your workout, then throw in your first bent over exercise. For myself personally, I don't even throw in bent over rows until maybe exercise 3 or 4. Okay, because I feel that at my age now, it takes me a little bit longer to warm up. So that's usually about half an hour into the workout. And at that point, okay, now I'm feeling good. Everything feels really loose and I'm good to go into my bent over exercise. Another thing about doing that is if you're doing a bent over barbell rows or T-bar rows halfway through your workout, you're not going to be able to lift as much weight, and therefore you're less risk on your lumbar region. So biggest mistake I see when people train their back would definitely be starting with a bent over exercise. So what I advise you to do is start off with a cable movement, whether it's a lat pull down, a seated cable row, maybe a pull over. Something on the cable though works really well just to warm up those lats, lumbar region. And like if you like me and you need 2 or 3 exercises, do it. Take time and do it. As for shoulders, the biggest mistake I see people make when they go with shoulders, too heavy too soon. So shoulders are a very small muscle group, right? They're not a very big muscle group at all. They're very small. So they should be warmed up sufficiently, right? So usually if I'm starting off with say a barbell military press, I'll always warm up with just the bar. The bar is like 40 pounds. It's very light for me. I don't even count it as a set, but I do that because again, I want to release some synovial fluid into my joints and warm them up. And because the shoulders are such a small and such a complex muscle group, you have to remember your shoulders, even though they're small, they're very complex. You've got your anterior deltoid, your medial deltoid, and your posterior deltoid all within about 3 to 4 inches of each other. So it's very, very small muscle group, but it's very complex in there. So you want to make sure you're warmed up properly. So whenever I approach a new shoulder exercise, I always go exceptionally light. So whether it's a barbell military press, a dumbbell shoulder press, dumbbell lateral raise, rope upright row, I always start at about 60% of what I know I can lift. Doesn't matter at what point of the workout I'm in, even if I'm already warmed up, because I know how easy it is to get a micro tear or a dislocation in that area. So I want to make sure my shoulders are warmed up. So the biggest mistake I see with people when they make with their shoulders is they go too heavy too soon. As for the arms, I would say with the arms, I've never had the biggest arms, but what I find works for the arms is actually going lighter and contracting those muscle groups, and supersetting works fantastic. Especially because when you superset the muscle groups, it really allows the tendons to get nice and warmed up, release more synovial fluid into that area. So one of the biggest mistakes I see when people train their arms, just like the shoulders, they go too heavy, or they do exercises too earlier on, like barbell curls or straight barbell press downs that require a lot of pressure on the tendons. So that's why I recommend, for example, let's say you're starting your arm workout, I would start with, like, say, rope extensions, rope cable extensions, because that allows your arm to go through both your tricep and your bicep to go through a full range of motion. You start off a straight bar press down, I find that puts a lot of pressure on the elbow. So rarely do I start any of my clients with straight barbell or straight cable press down, in the gym when it comes to triceps. As for biceps, I usually start my clients with easy bar curls because I like the way easy bar just warms up the joints. Again, it feels a nice natural movement. Then I'll get them into a more strict movement like a straight barbell curl. So that's what I notice of arms is same thing with shoulders, people going too heavy too soon, but starting with the wrong exercises. Start with exercises, again, if you can, with cables just to warm up, and maybe an easy bar for the biceps or some dumbbells before you head into some straight barbell curls. Basically any movements for the arms that are not too restrictive. As for legs, there's so many mistakes I see people make with legs in the gym, but if I were to pick the biggest mistake I see when people start with legs is they don't warm up their knees properly. So if you're someone who suffers from chronic knee pain, let's say you have patellofemoral syndrome, you don't want to jump into the squat rack right away, right? You might want to warm up with some walking lunges first. You might want to warm up with some leg extensions first. That'll at least, again, release that synovial fluid into your knees. And then you can get into the squat rack. And then when you do get into that squat rack, don't just put on a 45 aside. Start off with the bar, do 15, even do 20 reps, do high reps. Don't even count it as a set, but you want to get as much blood, as much glycogen, as much synovial fluid into those joints and the muscle bellies as possible before you start your working set. So that's the one thing I notice when people train their legs and then they come to me and say, oh, I can't squat because I've got really bad knees, or I can't lunge because I've got really bad knees. And say, well, the reason why you have bad knees is because you're putting your exercises in the wrong sequence. So let's figure out the proper sequence for you. And then we're going to get through this leg workout, and each leg workout, you're going to get stronger and stronger. And that joint pain is going to start to subside more and more. So the biggest mistake I see when people train their legs, incorrect sequences. Okay, so you want to make sure you put together the proper sequence for your leg routine. Hell, you might even have to start with hamstrings before you move to quads. It really depends on the person, right? And that's where it comes to working with a good trainer, a good knowledgeable and reputable personal trainer that can assess your form and technique and say, okay, I've seen this before, let's try this. Okay, this doesn't work, let's troubleshoot, let's try this. I guarantee you, if you're working with someone who is very knowledgeable and experienced in the industry, they will find a formula that works for you. And once you find that formula, stick with it until it doesn't work anymore. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's Q&A. This episode should be going up on Friday evening. And just as a reminder, if you do have any questions related to your diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me at nick@forevofitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions at @fitcausegrove_. Guys, thanks so much. Have a great weekend, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.